as you're developing skills with it and these techniques of thinning and throwing the clay, you may well find that it takes you several lifts to thin the clay out, and that you may predominantly be wanting to use your hands to work with to thin the clay. What you'll find as you develop your skills is that you'll be able to use, and you'll find can greatly assist your throwing, is using different types of wooden ribs, all of different profiles and shapes. And they can help both on the shaping the exterior and the interior of forms as well. With the rib, the important way of handling them is that you have a lot of control, and you've got a lot of pressure very close to where you're applying the pressure on the pot itself, not holding them right at the back of the tool, but holding them very close to the front of the tool. Most wooden ribs also have this little hole in them, and the purpose for that is to apply pressure with your thumb and to really help you grip hold of that tool very firmly. So with the rib there, what I'm going to do is apply some pressure against the clay. And you'll see how I'm holding it is slightly holding it back a little bit there, rather than just square to the pot. It's held slightly obliquely to the pot, and I'm going to apply some pressure. And again, predominantly working at that 3 o'clock type position, applying pressure from the inside and pressure from the outside. And this can allow you to throw a pot, and when you're throwing, have much more even a profile to the clay that you're throwing, rather than if you've just got one point of pressure on the outside, like a fingertip or a knuckle, much more likely to give you a ridged surface. So you can throw thinner and you can throw more evenly. So you would nearly always do your first 1 or 2 lifts with your fingers, and then subsequent lifts you'd be more likely to be using one of the ribs. One point that can be very valuable as well, before we take it off the wheel and before we finish the pot, is that often it can be a very useful idea to use something to help apply pressure on the rim and finish the rim. And what I'd often recommend is using a piece of small section of chamois leather. You could use soft rubber, or you can use plastic, just a very slim rectangle such as this, just gently wrapped over that rim, and a little bit of pressure just against the clay there gives a nice even rim to the pot there, but it also compacts the clay particles, applies a little bit more pressure, and makes that rim a lot physically stronger as well, considerably stronger really, by applying the pressure. Sometimes useful technique might, sometimes if people have uneven rims, useful technique can be to use the potter's pin again, thumb and finger either side of the clay, small amount of pressure pushing that pin across the thumb into the finger on the other side. Occasionally as well, you may find on a taller cylinder you've got some water trapped inside. Maybe your hand can't reach right down inside the pot, so that's why you have one of these sponges on a stick, and that can just help take any of that water out. If you leave any water in the bottom, what it can do is sometimes mean that the bottom stays very soft while the pot goes very dry, and it'll dry out unevenly and make it quite problematic when it comes to turning the pot. So always try and make sure you clear the water out of the base.